Postbank says all SASSA grants have been paid this month. This comes after a technical glitch which left thousands of beneficiaries without access to their funds. Let's find out what's been happening on the ground, however. Our reporter Hloni Mtimkulu has been following the story and she joins me now. So Hloni, hello once more. You were back outside some of the post banks. Yesterday you said the queues were quite small. What was the situation today?
Yeah, so the queues today were even smaller than yesterday. But I also think it depends on the time of day you go. So if you go in the morning, you'll find more people than if you go later. And that was the case with us today, where we went a little bit later. But there are still people that have not been paid. There are people still sitting inside post offices, still waiting for some or other issue with the post office system to operate. They've been told to wait a bit, and then we'll address why you're here. There are people now today who are back to being told, go to a retailer, go and look for it there. We can see it on the system, but you can only access it through a retailer, when they had been told like a day before or last week that come to the post office. So today, as of today, and I know what the Postbank statement says, we've seen it, there were still people that were experiencing difficulties around accessing their grant money. And just to be sure, I think we should hear from those recipients, Sally.
Yeah, let's take a listen.
Mina kimi ireversal ayikakenzeki manje ngithe mangibuza ukuthi izokwenzeka nini bathe ngcono ngize masesihola and manje masesihola nakhona kuyofuneka ngibuye ngizelana mara nginayo guarantee yokuthi ngizoyithola na nayo nje umbuzo wami ngoba ngaleli khathi okwamanje abalenzi nokuthi livume ukuthi umuntu withdraw so mangiza ngedate omholo la ngizoyithola na nayo nje umbuzo wami engisibuza.
Actually, we're waiting here from the beginning of the month. Every second day we come here, standing in lines, offline, no money, come tomorrow. Hey, I mean, how do we live? It's frustrating. Every second day you're coming here, getting the same story. So what's happening? I mean...
And you still, I just want to confirm that you still haven't received it now. Do you know?
No, I brought my wife early this morning. And they're saying there's no money or what. I'm not too sure what's going on. But anyway, we are.
I mean, this is extraordinary. And as you say, that, you know, on the ground, this is the lived experience. And possibly that system glitch has been sorted out, and we're hoping to speak to Postbank in just a moment. They're due to come through to us any moment now and explain what's happening. But people on the ground, it seems that they've been given different messages. Some of them, as you say, are being sent to supermarkets to go and get their money there because they can't get it from Postbank. I mean, it's extraordinary, isn't it? And in the meantime, we know that the Democratic Alliance has made good on their threat to report this whole matter to the Human Rights Commission today. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so they did go today to the Human Rights Commission in Braamfontein to lay that complaint against the Minister of Social Development, Lindiwe Zulu, against the Department of Social Development, against Postbank, as well as SASSA, so all the kind of parties that are involved in the social grant system. And they say that this September debacle is just one too many, because this is not the first instance when there have been issues with paying out social grants, and they're saying this can't keep happening. And they just talk about how people's rights have been violated by this, not being able to access just the basic of basics, you know, that they need and that they should require, that they should be receiving, you know. And so they did go and they did do that. I don't know if there'll be further steps taken. We weren't unfortunately able to speak to the Human Rights Commission as well, but you know, it would be interesting from that perspective in terms of what will they be doing then, because obviously I think a lot of institutions are kind of picking up on this and this is happening, and what are they going to say in terms of this is happening, this can't be right, and even just the way that it's been addressed as well just can't be right as well, you know, and this is still going on. So that did happen today, Sally.
And just talk to me about, you know, if we look at the grant system in this country, millions and millions of people, I mean, I'm not sure of the stats, not sure if you've had a look at the stats, but there are millions of South Africans, and I think it's just less than half, who actually draw some form of government support grant.
Yeah, so there was a figure that said about 17 million people overall that accessed the grant system, but this may have been a few years ago. But in terms of the specific September 5th, 6th, 7th, it was about 5.2, 5.3 million people that we got from Postbank that would be affected, split over the child grant, the disability grant, and the old age grant. I just can't remember the breakdown exactly. I know there was 3.7 million or so, which was, I think, the child or the old age grant. But so that's about 5.2 million people that have to access this funding. But it's just been chaotic. And again, it's not the first time where they need to access this funding and there are issues around it. They've had to change the payment system. We've actually had a lot of people now that are saying, please just go back to the old system. Go back to the old way where we could go to a hall and we could go for 2 or 3 days. We knew that they would be here and they would, we could go, we would get our money. Sure, we would stand in a line for a few hours, but we'd know that we get this money. Of course, there are security issues around carrying that much, cash around. But I think at the moment, people are so frustrated that this is what they want to do. There's also, well, the people who receive their money through banks are okay. But then a lot of people are complaining that if we go that route, then there are bank charges to contend with as well. So it's a very complicated system, to be fair, to the department, to Postbank, all of them. But I just think the way that it's been handled is just not great. And, you keep saying it's been resolved. Again, on your end, but on the ground, it still hasn't been resolved, and it's little comfort for people. And again, the messaging, the communication, the kind of service people are receiving at the post offices, where they're just receiving very bad treatment. We spoke to someone today who was saying, these people can't even tell me anything. I need to get a new card, but they can't even tell me, there are no cards today, but they can't tell me when these cards are going to be available. So I must come back Thursday or Friday. But how do I know that when I come back on Thursday or Friday, I'm going to get this card? They will have stock. So those sorts of issues are also there as well. And I think it's just a big mess, if I can call it that just kind of plays itself out where so many things are falling apart, unfortunately. And it's affecting, at the end of the day, the most vulnerable of society in this country, Sally.
I mean, we're on the 19th of September. Postbank telling us, look, we've resolved the matter. And clearly, most people have received a grant because those queues have diminished. But the reality is, until every last person has got their grant, they haven't fulfilled their duties. Is there an anxiety that this problem is going to reoccur?
Yeah. Again, we spoke to someone today, actually, the elderly lady we spoke to today, who they've said to her come back the next pay date, which is October. And she says, I don't know if I'll get it in October, so I will come, but I don't know if this will happen. So, and there were a few people like that who just said, we don't know if this will continue and what's going to happen. And again, it's not the first time, so it's clearly not a fail-safe system at the moment. And I don't know if the extent of this will kind of push officials to have a relook at it and try to tighten things up. But there definitely is some uncertainty from people. I mean, yesterday we had someone who said, I didn't get my money, I'm giving up, I'm done now, so there's a lot. And to hear these stories of people who are just like, I'm stuck in this thing, I don't know what to do. It's just the hopelessness, I think, of people who are saying, I need this money. This is how my family gets by, and we're not getting it. What do we do? What's going on? So,
yeah, it really is worrying. And we are making contact with a spokesperson from Postbank. We will actually speak to them in a few moments. But thank you very much for just giving us the picture on the ground, Hloni. I really do appreciate that. So our reporter, Hloni Mtimkulu, on the ground today. Still, there are a few people who have not received their money. In a few moments' time, we'll be speaking to Postbank about that. But let's move on.